I don't know that I ever intended to become a teaching artist. I started off intending to be an actor, wanting to start to be a clown, and I got offered a job. One of the guys that I'd been performing with said, "Hey, we've got a gig. How do you feel about teaching drama to some kids?" I said, "Sounds fun." And I said, "Does it pay money?" And he said, "It pays money." I said, "I'll take it." And that was pretty much what I knew at that moment. So he said, "Great, I'll give you a call, we'll set it up." And we went a few weeks before that happened, and then he called me. He said, "Great, they're ready for you to start. You start Monday, there are 5 classes." Okay, great. 5 classes. What age are they? He said, "Oh, I'm not sure." Okay, great. Do you know how many kids are going to be in each class? No, I'm sure it'll be a normal number. Great. I had no idea what a normal number in a New York City classroom is. It turns out to usually be about 30. Okay. Is there somebody I should meet with when I get there? No, just go to the main office. All right, great. So I was living in Long Island at the time, and I traveled 2 trains, 3 subways, and a 25-minute walk to a school in the Bronx. I'd never walked that much in the Bronx, but it was a new experience for me. And I walked up to the door of a school, and I could hear shouting when I got to the door. And I opened the door, and just inside the door was a trash can that was not completely on fire, but it was smoldering. And next to me was an adult screaming words I didn't expect to be hearing in a school. And just up the stairs was a young man screaming words that I definitely did not expect to hear in a school. And as I walked in, he picked up a chair and threw it down the stairs. It was a surprising event. And I'm not exactly sure what went through my head, but I continued up the stairs and walked to the main office. And I taught 5 classes. It was one of the hardest years of my life. But I engaged in a process of recognizing that my work as an artist, being human work, was completely informed by the opportunity to work with young people, and that there was some part inside me that was built to do it. I walked past a fire and a dangerous chair thrower to do something I knew nothing about. And so it made me think a lot about who I was as a young person and who I became as an older person. Now, when I was 9 years old, a film came out called Scrooged. Weird transition, I know, but bear with me. This is a film that starred Bill Murray and Carol Kane, and it was a retelling of Dickens' Christmas Carol. It had everything that a 9-year-old me could possibly want in a movie. There was Christmas, which I thoroughly enjoy, singing, dancing, scary ghosts, and in one scene, Carol Kane hits Bill Murray in the face with a toaster. And it was delightful for me every single time. It still is. But there was one particular thing in this film that really stood out to me, and that was this toy. This is a ball-bearing tilt toy. Now, as a child, I had an entire basket in my playroom of little toys like this, little plastic boxes with cardboard or plastic tracks on the bottom and ball bearings that you rolled around. And I knew these toys. I was really, really gifted. I was a heck of a tilter, right? I loved figuring out the pattern of tilting the balls to get them where I needed them to go. Sometimes they were mazes, sometimes it was really just about finding the exact leveling point. And this particular toy was my nemesis. As you can see, it's a hexagon. It has 6 tracks going out to the corner, and the goal is to get the 6 balls out to the edges. Now, as a young person, I approached this with a dancer's mind. I felt certain there was a solution, and I felt certain that I could find it. And I vividly remember spending hours with this toy, tilting, and I could get 4 or 5 of them in place. But then it would all fall apart on the 6th one. And it was infuriating. So, at some point I'm sure that I moved on from this toy. I probably moved on to the folding Rubik's Cube or some other puzzle, as this was a thing I really enjoyed as a child. But then I saw Scrooged. And in this scene, the Tiny Tim character, now if I'm evoking a long-haired man with ukulele, we're on the wrong track. So make sure you're on the Dickens track with me. The Tiny Tim character is selectively mute in the story, and we see from outside the apartment that he's being teased by his family. And all of the family is playing with this toy, and I recognized it instantly, and I thought, yeah, that's a dang frustrating toy. And they seem to think so as well. At the end of the scene, the little boy carries the toy over to a windowsill, sets it down, and spins it. And the centrifugal force brings the balls out to the outer corners, and it's solved. Now, I remember seeing it in the theater, and I remember all of the people around me going, ah. And I suppose that would be a normal reaction. You think, oh, he's so clever, he's so smart. My reaction was different. I was mad. In fact, I don't know if I've ever been so mad. I thought, that's not fair. He cheated. Right? Because, of course, I knew these toys. These are tilt toys. So the innovation of changing the rules on this game, both the innovation of this young man and the innovation of the people that created the toy, was a cheat. And I felt completely betrayed by it. I vividly remember that I went home, I took the toy, I threw it right in the garbage, and I never wanted to look at it again, which, as I was prepping this talk, I sort of regretted. Now I'd like to look at it again. But I remember, I never thought to ask questions about the toy because of what I knew about it. I knew the rules of this game. I never asked why there was a little nub on the bottom that it would sit on precariously. Might have been a good question. I never asked why there was a spiral in the center with a ball. All of the clues were there for me, but because I knew the rules of the game, I didn't ask them. So for me, this felt like cheating. And I've asked the question a lot as an adult, in what ways is cheating similar to innovation? Right? Great innovations are moments where we think of something nobody's ever thought of before. Or we hope to, anyway. When I teach young people, I notice that young people are often afraid to make a big choice. Questions I hear all the time is, can I do that? And I worry sometimes that we're giving them so many rules that they're not willing to take the risk. In fact, I see so many children who are so scared that they won't get an A, that they don't want to step across the threshold of an exercise until you've explained everything to them. Even in situations of a clown class where I say, walk in the room, say hello, and walk out. The student says, well, how many steps should I take to get in the room? Should I stop right there or right here? Do I say anything else? Should I look at you? Should I look? So worried about the rules. I'm just looking for something simple, right? Walk in the room, say hello, and walk out. So I've been wondering in the last couple years, what would happen if we told kids to cheat? What if we acknowledged that life is a system of rules and structures, and that the great cheats are about learning to identify those rules, to identify those structures, and manipulate them in a way to create something new? See, I've come to believe that my role as a teaching artist is important because I believe truly that the arts is important. But I've found over the years that people have questions about this. Why is the arts important? It's easy to say, well, science is important because here's an application of science that saves our life and makes our life better. And frequently as artists, we go, it feels so good. You should be there. These kids are doing things, and it felt really nice. Which doesn't do well in government. But as I've tried to justify why these are important things to give our children, I believe that the world we are prepping them for is changing so fast that the information we offer them, the specific skills we're giving them, are going to be different by the time they get there. In fact, the planet we are prepping them from may be unrecognizable to the planet they're going to arrive at as prepared adults. So for me, I feel like the ability to think creatively and the ability to rethink the systems is possibly the most important skill that we're offering children for the future. We've all heard this phrase, think outside the box, and it makes me crazy. This is why I went for cheat. Cheating feels charged. Think outside the box is something I've heard in 250,000 meetings, or it feels like it. And I've heard it in meetings in places where not a lot has changed. So when I was prepping this talk, I thought, think outside the box. Would it be better to say that than cheat? And I thought, no. A, because we've heard it enough. But B, because real creative thinking is about thinking inside boxes, right? A theater is an empty box. It's a place that you fill with something. The edges are defined. The rules of the theater are defined. You knew to come in here, sit in this chair, look up here, some lights would come on, and something would happen. You'd think about it. This agreement is already set up for us. It's the way that we work inside that agreement, inside that box, that creates creativity and innovation. Painting is no different, right? There's a space. It's about the rules and the structures that you set in place that make creative flow, and it's about how you break them that make really great innovations. I would venture that even architecture is the same thing. It's about creating boxes. I think we all know when we've seen a really amazing shift inside the boxes, which makes me think about Hedy Lamarr. Now, Hedy Lamarr was an actress in the 30s and 40s, and she became notorious for baring her breasts and portraying an orgasm. And I'm sure you're thinking, this is exactly what I want to teach my kids about. But Hedy Lamarr was also a gifted mathematician and an inventor. She spent her time off set thinking up new things. And whether you know it or not, Hedy Lamarr is responsible for something you use every day. In response to World War II, she was devastated by a particular event in which a Nazi bomb hit a boat full of children that were being transported. And she was devastated. And she wanted to do something. And so instead of being mad about it, she went home and she worked with a musician named George Antheil. And they worked together to create a concept for a missile that could be remotely detonated. And she had this idea called frequency hopping, which was just changing the way frequency traveled through the bandwidths. The missile never got made. The project was too lofty and too complicated in the way that it would be made. But the concept of frequency hopping is what made cellular technology possible. So every day you are touching the ideas of Hedy Lamarr. So we're back at an actor, right? We're back at a film. And I believe that innovation is about working within boxes and about becoming interested and human so that you can have information from many boxes, but not necessarily ever thinking outside the boxes. So it brings us back to kids. What do we teach them? Now, the arts, for me, offer them a way to think creatively, to access their humanity, and hopefully to develop enough of a tuned sense of humanity to think about the actual human cost of our cheats and our innovations. It is my hope as a teacher of the arts that I will give kids not only the tools for the future in terms of breaking the rules, but also tools to understand each other, to connect with each other, and to make sure that when they break the rules, they do it for one another's benefit. Thank you.